Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something that so many parents of autistic kids see every single day, stimming. We're going to break down what it is, why it's happening, and most importantly, how you can be the best, most supportive advocate for your child. So let's dive right in. So, have you ever seen your child flap their hands like crazy when they get super excited? Or maybe they rock back and forth when things feel a little overwhelming? If you're nodding along, you are definitely not alone. These are things parents notice all the time, and it's totally normal to have questions. But what if we could shift that feeling from worry to just genuine curiosity? This quote from an autistic advocate named Lena Eartharcher really puts us right into the feeling of stimming. It shows us this isn't just some random behavior to be analyzed from the outside. For the person doing it, it can be a really helpful internal experience. Sometimes it's even joyful. So let's make that shift together. The whole point here is to get past just looking at the behavior and to really dig into the why behind it all. That's where real understanding starts. Okay, so first, let's get the definition straight. Stimming is just short for self-stimulatory behavior. And really, it's a big umbrella term for any repetitive action that's doing a crucial job, like helping to self-regulate, process all the sensory stuff coming in, or manage emotions, the good and the tough ones. Now, this is the heart of it all. The old way of thinking saw stimming as a bad behavior that needed to be stopped or hidden. But the new neuroaffirming view, which is backed by autistic adults and, frankly, better science, sees it in a completely different light. It's an essential need, a tool for focus, and a totally valid way to express oneself. So let's break down those functions. Stimming does at least 4 really important things. It helps manage a world that can be, just too much, too loud, too bright. It's also an emotional release valve for everything from big anxiety to pure happiness. For a lot of people, it's actually a key tool for staying focused. And finally, sometimes it's just a natural part of who a person is. Here's a really great way to think about it. Stimming is kind of like a thermostat for the nervous system. When the internal world gets too hot with stress, or maybe too cold from being understimulated, stimming helps bring everything back to a comfortable, just right temperature. All right, so now that we get that stimming is functional, it has a purpose. With that in mind, let's get practical. Let's build a toolkit that you can actually use to respond in a way that's truly supportive. And this is probably the #1 question on every parent's mind, right? How can I tell when a stim is just a helpful tool and when it might be a sign that my child is really struggling? Figuring that out is absolutely crucial. This chart breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you have helpful stims, like flapping or rocking. Those are about coping, and our response should just be acceptance. But then you have behaviors that cause physical harm, like headbanging. Now, these aren't bad. They are urgent signals. They are a 5-alarm fire bell telling you there's overwhelming distress or a deep unmet need. The goal isn't to stop the behavior. It's to figure out the root cause and solve that. Creating a supportive space at home can change everything. You can start right now. First, educate the people in your child's life: family, teachers, friends. Second, have sensory tools available that offer a safe outlet. Third, set up a quiet, calm-down corner where your child can regulate without any judgment. And fourth, build movement breaks right into their day. It can help meet that sensory need before it gets overwhelming. So what do these tools look like? Well, they can be simple things like fidget toys or chewable necklaces. For bigger sensory input, things like weighted lap pads or even a small indoor trampoline can be amazing. And for kids who are sensitive to sound, noise-canceling headphones can be an absolute game changer. Okay, we've talked a lot about what to do, but it is just as important to talk about what not to do. Let's get into the very real harm that happens when we try to suppress these natural, necessary behaviors. I bet you've heard this phrase before: quiet hands. For a long time, this was a common goal in some therapies. But we now understand that asking a child to suppress their main tool for regulating their body is like asking someone to hold their breath. It's not just hard, it's incredibly stressful. When you constantly have to suppress your stims, it leads to something called autistic masking. This is the exhausting effort of hiding your true self just to meet other people's expectations. And we have to be clear about this. It is not a preference. It is a survival strategy that people learn when they feel judged. And the cost of that masking is unbelievably high. It leads directly to things like chronic anxiety, autistic burnout, and just a damaged sense of self-worth. It sends a message that the way you naturally are is wrong. and that can create a profound and painful disconnect from who you really are. Just let this quote from an autistic adult sink in for a second. The pressure to conform can become so ingrained that just being yourself feels impossible, and you actually need help to learn how to do it again. This is the kind of long-term impact we want to help our kids avoid. So let's finish up by reframing this whole conversation. Let's move beyond just managing stimming and step into a place where we are actually celebrating what it represents. A really important part of this is a shift in our language, moving from autism awareness to autism acceptance. Awareness is just knowing that autism exists. Acceptance is valuing autistic people for exactly who they are, stims and all. This is the goal right here, for our kids to grow up feeling like they can be their authentic selves, not some acceptable version they have to perform for everyone else. And allowing them the freedom to stim is a massive part of that journey toward authenticity. So when we shift our perspective, we see that stimming isn't just a behavior. It's communication, it's self-care, it's regulation. It can be an expression of pure joy. It is part of a person's identity. And that leaves us with one final, really powerful question. Let's challenge ourselves to shift our focus. Instead of seeing a behavior and asking, how do I stop this? What if we got curious and asked, what is my child communicating? And what do they need from me right now? That question, that is the absolute heart of true support and acceptance. Thanks so much for joining me today.